Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Car Ride Confessions of a CEO discussion panel. I'm your moderator. My name is Justin Hayek, and I'm an investment advisor with PI Financial, as well as the creator and host of the series Car Ride Confessions of a CEO. Joining us today at far right there is Ivan Bebek, Executive Chairman and Director of Orin Resources. And to my immediate right is Brian Paes Braga, partner at the Frank Jussa-led Fiore Group. He's also the founder and until recently the CEO of LithiumX. And I've had the privilege of interviewing both on episodes of Car Ride Confessions of a CEO. So thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you.
So I want to briefly touch on Car Ride Confessions and the concept of the series. So the concept of the series is for you as investors to better know the people who you're investing in. And this is important because when you make an investment into a company, you're investing not just into the project, but I think more importantly, the people. So I love using the analogy of getting to know the jockey behind the horse. I think it's important to know who you're betting on as jockey because you want to know that the jockey knows how to maximize the horse's potential. Because investing in incompetent management and executives is like having a jockey ride a thoroughbred ass backwards. I don't know if that's fair, but... Yeah. So one of my favorite questions to ask guests of Car Ride Confessions is, what's more important to a deal, the people or the project? And consensus says the people. And so I want to start this discussion talking about takeovers and the people who have achieved them. So recently and shortly after filming his episode of CRC, or Car Ride Confessions, Brian and his team announced LithiumX's acquisition by a Chinese investment firm for $265 million. So Brian, why don't you take us through that experience? What was it like being a part of it, especially as a first-time CEO, and how instrumental were the people at LithiumX in achieving this?
Sure. Can everyone hear me okay? Awesome. So, Justin, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Both Ivan and I have been part of an exit now. Ivan's, I think, was a few years ago for similar dollar volume. And I think he'd probably allude to the same thing, that it does take a small village to make these things happen and work. There was probably two core guys to our team that made my job a lot easier than a first-time CEO would usually run into, which was Paul Matizik and Bassam Mubarak. They have both had multiple sales, and going through it with them was, a lot more enjoyable until about February 14th, when we didn't get the money we were supposed to get from the Chinese. And I'd say that I haven't slept that bad consistently ever in my life. We luckily had a $20 million reverse break fee that was negotiated at the 11th hour, mid-December, before our signed definitive agreements, because of the risk of having an Asian-based purchaser. Not that they're bad or anything. It's just it's hard to get money out of that country. I think we all hear that theme. But we luckily had the $20 million, strategically I think, had the $20 million reverse break fee in place. And we made it hurt if they were going to walk away. So I'd say that for us and our business plan, it was the right move for our shareholders to get that cash buyout. And I think
that was at the top of the stock, no? In terms of its performance, I think it was bought out at its all-time share high.
Yeah, on a closing day basis, yes.
Yeah.
But one day it did trade up to 285, which
Okay.
we did really push for that. Actually, 286. Couldn't get there, but for the most part, everyone made money along the way, which was important for us.
Okay. Yeah, so Ivan and Brian mentioned that you two have a takeover on your resume. You were the former president, CEO, and co-founder of Cadent Resources, which was sold to Agnico Eagle for $205 million in 2014.
That's correct.
So did the asset sell itself, or was it good salesmanship?
Well, this was, if you guys all remember 2013, 2014, it's probably a way worse market than we're in today. And we sold an asset that had 100 drill holes into it, so no actual resource. So if I didn't take credit for our team on behalf of our salesmanship, I'd be lying. So there was a salesmanship factor, but it wasn't as much of a selling point by that we were that good of salesmen. There's a certain demand in our industry, and that's for growth. And growth is very limited because all the easy deposits have been found globally. And so we found something. We added a lot of scale to it. It looked like the right start, and it's probably the best real estate Agnico was aware of at the time in Mexico. So there's a good balance because our scientists, I have to give Dave Smith and Dan McCoy, our geoscientists, all the credit as they led the charge technically, and obviously the rock sold. Agnico's a very, very smart company in terms of what they're buying. But layer of salesmanship, right place, right timing. I think our team is fairly diverse in personalities, so we have a pretty strong handle on capital markets and where they're going, and we anticipated, growth being a challenge for some people, and we picked the right asset before people really started to feel that pressure.
Right, good point. Okay, so Brian, back to you. In creating and managing a company, is a takeover or merger something you can strategize for in advance, or does it just happen with good luck?
For us, it was the business plan. Yeah. So we felt that lithium was we were convinced that lithium was going to go for a run, and we tried to find the best way to get a shareholders exposure to that. So when we started Lithium X, I was just telling this to Leighton that lithium was trading around $5,000 a ton, and the best leverage we could get is going to find a deposit and advancing it, and then starting to do the dance with majors. As Ivan said, on the gold side is probably more growth. On the lithium and other battery materials, it's been based on just sheer demand because you've got this whole electric vehicle and consumer electronic boom. So we played into that, and there was a long lineup of strategics that were trying to get into the lithium business. By the end, we saw lithium trade over $20,000 a ton, and we felt that we had gotten the most leverage for our shareholders, and it was either that or suffer a lot of dilution, take on debt, and go and try to build the mine ourselves, which I think we were prepared to do, and we had the right team in place to do it. But our plan from the beginning was to advance the asset to a point, to hopefully be fortunate enough to sell it.
Yeah, got you. Okay. So, Ivan, you've chosen the business model of selling to a producer rather than developing the project yourself to production. So maybe you can touch on that a little bit. Why have you chosen that model?
We've done both. Our first company, we actually found a 5 million ounce resource. We ended up building a mine in Ghana, West Africa. The best investment return you can possibly get is the discovery curve of finding a deposit. And the best way to monetize that for shareholders is by selling it at the peak of when you've discovered what you think is the best things to discover about that project. No junior company, lithium or gold company, is ever built to find and build an asset. Those are two entirely different mindsets, two entirely different management teams. I like the investment return side of it more than I like the engineering side of it, and that's consistent with the rest of our group. In terms of that, I think if we can continually sell assets at multiples of where people have invested over time without having to ever say feasibility or production, we would have done ourselves and our shareholders tremendous amounts of respect in terms of wealth they would create off our companies.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point. Okay, real quick here, let's take a look at a clip from each one of your Cartwright Confession interviews, and then with a question to follow up.
The best way to be competitive with all the other young CEOs that are trying to get in the business is challenge everybody else with work ethic. That's a compliment I got out of Rick Rule in my early days. It was shared with me that he said I was one of the hardest working guys in the business. And I look back in my 18 years of being in it, and my work ethic hasn't changed. I'm working 12 to 14 hours a day, 2 days before Christmas or Christmas break, and that won't change because that's what it takes to make things work.
Okay, that's obviously Ivan. So one for Brian here.
I think that everything comes down to in life really is hard work. It sounds cheesy or maybe like a typical answer, but like when hard work kind of meets opportunity, I really believe in that saying. Like that's when you kind of have that luck.
Question for the two of you: have you always been great leaders, or is this something you had to learn?
Who do you want to go first? All right. Always been great leaders. I don't think you plan to be a leader. In my situation, I still am the youngest person in my entire company next to our CFO. And so you heard me talk about work ethic, and I figured if I worked harder than everybody else in the room, I could gain their respect. And also if I had the courage to outlay a very aggressive vision, could also lead with that too. But the best leader is defined by the people around them. And so, for me, I'm just lucky that I'm the guy in the middle of the room that carries the most responsibility. But I wouldn't be a good leader if I didn't have the team around me. It's really them who made me a good leader, and I earn their respect through my work ethic.
Good point. Brian?
I would agree with what Ivan was saying, but I'd touch on one point that he mentioned is I think that a leader just naturally leads by example, but you have to look at the characteristics at which will make a successful organization. And I think work ethic's definitely one of them, but I think being fair, having an strong ethical barometer that everyone can lead by, everyone knows that there's trust there, and if they input value into this organism, which is what an organization is, and the culture that is built, that you are inputting and you're getting something in return that is not reasonable, but over and above reasonable, because I don't believe that there's a finite game in the world. I believe that everything, as long as you're building a bigger pie, and you've got enough good ingredients going into that by multiple people, so long as they're feeling respected, and you might be that person in the middle, putting that pie together and shoving it into the oven, that's when you have good results. So if I've looked back at failures of mine and successes, it's a function of getting as many talented people around a table as possible, ensuring they're all treated respectfully, and then if you're the leader and leading by example, then that should all fall into place.
I just want to add one more thing, and I thought of it while you're speaking, and all really good points, and I agree with all of them, is I like to put my neck out for the group. And I put it out personally on a financial basis, I put it on a reputation basis, and I go to the end of the earth with pure risk. And when you do that on behalf of this great team that you have surrounding you, they tend to follow you in what you're doing. Having your natural instincts to call good shots about what to do when and to know when to put your neck out, I think that you're born with a bit of that, to be crazy enough to take certain swings. But if you get it right a few times, then you quickly become a leader, and that's where I think the following comes from.
Yeah, great point. Okay. So we talked about the importance of people behind a deal, but let's talk about the difficulty in finding quality projects right now. So each of you is involved in companies with companies in search of assets. So what's the biggest frustration you're having right now with trying to chase those major assets?
I think for us at Fiore Group, we've got multiple companies, and I would say and this is maybe an example of it. I know everyone in this room, so thanks for coming, but there's no new money coming to this space right now. So actually, if you've got a contrarian view to this, if you can secure big assets, which are, again, I think they're very difficult to find, at some point we're all going to be rewarded. But we are having, I don't know if others feel this, but it's difficult to find big assets. So if it's quantity size, I think it's difficult, but quality, there are still a lot of quality assets that we're getting shown. But unfortunately, it almost seems like the sellers aren't willing to give it up to a price where it's like the old Mexican standoff right now. So something's got to happen. Either the market's got to rebound, and I think if you follow any of the bulge bracket investment banks, we're at all-time levels of cheap valuations for commodities relative to every other equity or the S&P 500. So hopefully it just rebounds and we start to catch this wave, and then deals will start to happen, whether it's M&A on juniors getting taken out, or you're going to actually start to have an ability to pay up because capital will actually be there for it. The other problem is there's little to no equity capital out there right now. All the major financings are coming from strategics or royalty companies. And there's no real big fear of missing out or demand for the equity because equities aren't going anywhere. They're all flatlined, and they don't even really seem to have a pulse. So I don't know what gives, but something's got to give to allow for capital to be back in the system to get these quality assets found and advanced.
Okay.
All right, so your question being how hard is it to find these big assets and stuff, and if you know our profile quite well, and I'm going to boast a little bit because we were first movers on the back of Caden, where we got a lot of capital to go out and acquire these ahead of most guys that weren't looking. We bought some of the biggest things on the planet. We have 420 kilometers of greenstone belts in northern Canada with over 70 gold occurrences on these belts and deposit in the middle of the belt. We got over 100,000 hectares in Peru and land that we've carefully screened. And our sister company, Torque Resources, just acquired 2 projects in the last few weeks, and you'll see some more stuff here in the near future. So we're at the end of the search. We feel we've been able to steal some really remarkable assets. We bought Committee Bay for $18 million. That was a $200 million market cap company last bull market. So to Brian's point about quality, the price is right in a lot of scenarios. You do run into standoffs, but those standoffs are slowly evaporating because people can't raise money, as he's pointed out. We're at the end of that road. We've found more than we can handle, I'd argue, and that includes about 2 or 3 things that are yet to come into our portfolio. So yes, Brian had a tremendous success with Lithium X. I was a shareholder during that era, but I was full on gold mode a little bit sooner than your Fiore group kind of came together. And that's only because Caden happened at the most opportunistic timing, the middle of the bear market, and we were crazy enough to put our neck out and to go and risk the capital to go get these things.
And it paid off.
Yeah.
So shifting gears, let's talk about investing for a second. Where are you investing your money? Where do you see opportunity?
That's a tough question. So, like I just mentioned, commodities relative to the S&P 500, something's got to give because that relationship has never been so low ever. And being from Vancouver and a diehard commodity guy, I'd weigh on the side of commodities going to rebound at some point here, and we've got general pretty healthy economic growth. So, and obviously, I think with our experience in lithium, we are still very excited about battery materials. So I am buying one name in particular, personally. But what we do is we try to build very exciting public companies. And I'd say we're more looking at macro trends that are very obvious to the world, not just Canada, but to the world and to investors around the world. And how do we get the most exciting management team and assets into a public vehicle, well capitalized, and bring these opportunities to Canadian investors? That's what we do. That's where I've seen the great success that we've had on the companies that have really worked. And we are working on something, I can't tell you what that is right now, but hopefully we get there. And
we're all your closest friends here, Brian. It's okay.
Just give us a symbol. You don't have to tell us much more.
Next time.
Okay.
Where are we putting where am I putting capital now?
Yeah.
I think the most obvious place in the world to put your money right now is in the mining market. It's not fun if you own shares a year ago or 2 years ago, but you don't have to be a genius to figure out that the gold and the equities market is beyond discount for sale. To the growth factor, the last major mine found in the world was in 2011, Zamaruk. That's a 5+ million ounce mine up near us in Committee Bay. That's the last mine that was found globally 7 years ago. You got to look at the history of gold being found, and it hasn't been this sparse in the history of deposits being found. So to me, it's an industry that's going to have a major growth issue. The commodity price is suppressed, so are all the equities. It's a no-brainer. Wrote some really big checks lately in the space. I'm buying shares of our own companies when I'm allowed to, and you'll see a lot of inside buys over the next while because management is a challenge. You know, it's not easy to find well-run companies that are going to survive or succeed in these bear markets and excel in the bull market that comes, right? I'm not in it for a double. I'm not in it for a quadruple. I'm looking for 10 to 20 times my money.
Got you. Okay, so let's view 2 really quick clips here from each one of your interviews. 1 year from now, what do you think the price of gold will be?
1 year from now.
So let's say December of 2018.
Okay, December of 2018, I think we'll be at around $1,550 per ounce.
Okay. Any changes to your forecast?
I think I'm really safe with that bet, and I'd like to increase it, but I'm going to stick with it for now.
Okay, so Brian, I'm going to put you on the spot now. What's the dumbest thing you've spent money on?
This is tough.
There's so many.
No, I mean, it depends how you look at for me,
Yeah.
how... I'd say probably I bought myself a but it's,
Yeah.
you know...
Okay. Put you on the spot here. Any new answers to give since the big win on Lithium X?
Don't
I mean,
answer
there's
the
a couple.
question.
There's a
Don't
couple.
answer
Don't
the
answer the
question,
question.
Brian.
There's
Take
no.
our
There's no.
advice, don't answer
Thank
the
you,
question.
Ivan. Ivan's saving me here. Thank
Yeah,
you,
there
Ivan.
you go.
I
So
don't.
if
I
you
don't
guys
have an
wanna-
answer.
Yeah. So if you want to see
No
Brian's,
comment.
if you want to see Brian's answer, you'll have to go watch the video. It is on Cambridge's YouTube channel. So thanks you to the two of you for your time. Thanks to everyone who joined us. To view Brian and Ivan's and any other Car Wreck Confession interviews, please go check Cambridge's YouTube channel and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
And guys, if I can mention one thing, what Justin is doing, I don't know how Ivan felt about this, but it's a very comfortable kind of disarming position to be in. So he actually does really get you to kind of drop your guard. It's different than being in a boardroom and having a camera in your face, and you got to answer things really formally or trying to be politically correct. I find Justin's platform is actually really comfortable, and I enjoyed it a lot. So I hope it really ends up being very
We were
successful.
singing together at one point in the car. I remember that. That's probably part of it.
The only way you could get more honest answers would be if you involved alcohol and if we drank it.
Won't mix with driving. Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate it.